Hey everybody, this is Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and today I'm doing a special video. We are leading up to the Baltimore Comic Con in a few days. I'm doing a pre-video. I'm going to talk a little bit about what my plans are for the show and show you some of the things that I'm going to get signed, hopefully get signed, and we'll just go from there. This is, like I said, it's a countdown to Baltimore Comic Con. I'm real excited. This is one of my two favorite shows in the country, mostly because Baltimore Comic Con is so focused, just like Heroes Con down in Charlotte, on the comic books and the comic book creators. And you see a lot of the other cons, while they still have a lot of comic creators, they also have a lot of other media stars, and the focus isn't just on the comic books themselves. So I'm not taking anything away from those cons, but I'm saying that you come to Baltimore, you go to Charlotte, and it's just so comic centric that it's just fantastic. You can focus on that. Now, I know you can get a little bit of anime and some other toys and things there at Baltimore Comic Con, but it's just a great comic book show, and they're bringing in some top-notch talent. And I'm going to go over some of the things I'm going to get signed, and I'm going to talk to you about some of my prep work and tell you about a few of the books that I'm looking for while I'm there and what my approach is going into the show. So, all right, guys, let's get into the books. Okay, so the biggest name there at the show this year is going to be Frank Miller. Now, he was supposed to be there last year, but he canceled at the last moment, and Baltimore Comic Con gave anybody who bought tickets the option of getting their money back or rolling their tickets over until next year. And I'm not sure about some of the other packages, but the package I bought was I believe it was I take it back. It was a 4 autograph packet that I bought. And the option they gave you was they would give you, basically throw in an extra autograph. And I'm going, well, I'm going to be there next year, and tickets for the autographs for Frank Miller are not that cheap. So why not? Let's just roll it into next year. And so I've got at least 5 autographs right there. And I ended up buying, I think, a few more. So I got some options. So let's go into the books. This is what I'm going to get signed, or at least some of the things I'm going to get signed while I'm there by Frank Miller. Now, first up is this right here. This right here is, let me set it down. This is a hardbound first edition to The Dark Knight Returns. This is a book that I had been wanting to get signed for many years, and when I had a chance about 5 or 6 years ago to get Frank Miller, it turned out I was going to be out of town. My wife went in my place, and I was looking for this book to get signed by Frank Miller, Klaus Janson, and Denny O'Neil, and I couldn't find this book to save my life. It was stored away safely. I've had this book since it came out in the late 80s, right after the whole Dark Knight Returns finished the 4-issue run, and I've bagged and boarded this thing, and it's been protected ever since. And when I was down in Charlotte earlier this year, Klaus Janson was there, and I'm going to just hold it there. You can see his autograph right here above my fingers. So I'm hoping to get, well, I should be able to, I've got the tickets. I'm scheduled to get it. So this will be signed by Frank Miller. Unfortunately, since I found this in the last few years, since my wife was able to get me other autographs, Denny O'Neil has passed, and so I won't be able to get him. You ask, why am I getting Denny O'Neil in here? He was the editor at the time. So that's why I was getting him. I don't want to say it's the biggest loss in everything. He creatively didn't do this, but he was the editor of DC for this. So I'm still going to get Frank Miller in this. This still will be my goal to get this. This is my #1 book to get signed. So I'm very excited about that. And just a side note real quick about what my wife got signed. I ended up with there's another hardbound book. I believe it's called The Complete Frank Miller Batman. And it's got all 4 issues of Dark Knight Returns, the 4 issues of Batman Year One, and then there's, I think, a Christmas story in there too that he did. And it's all collected, and she was actually able to get all Frank Miller, Klaus Janson, and Denny O'Neil on that. So I still have that. It's definitely a wonderful piece. I'm so thankful to my wife for being able to do that for me. All right, so carrying on here, we've got the Superman Gallery, and this is a book that my mother had bought years ago from CV, what is it called? The online shopping network. Oh my God, what do you call that? I can't remember what it's called. You know, guys, what I'm talking about. QTV? No, that's not it. What is it? QVC. That's it. I'm losing my mind. And she had bought this, and it was already signed by, and I'm reading here because I still have the certificate of authenticity, George Perez, Neil Adams, Jerry Ordway, Dan Jurgens, Kurt Swan, and Jim Steranko. Since then, I've added Walt Simonson, Mike Zeck, Dan Jurgens. There's a few other artists on here I've been doing. Anyway, Frank Miller is also featured in this on one of his pages. And it's normally I wouldn't have gotten this book signed by Frank Miller, but with the lineup of all-star artists that are already on the cover of this thing here, I'm going, okay, adding Frank to this just makes this thing just a spectacular piece, even more spectacular piece. So this is going to get signed. This right here is something that I've been working on for a few years. This is Daredevil 188, and I just like the cover. I like the black of the cover. There wasn't any spec value in this. I just love the cover. But it's already, as you see, we've already got, there's Denny O'Neil up there as well, Jim Shooter and Jansen on here already. So this is definitely a piece that I've got Frank to sign. And as you can see, I didn't even mention it. These are already bagged and boarded with windows cut out where I want the autograph. And I've got place here for Frank. And I do this there's two reasons I would do this. One is if I was sending it into CBCS or CGC, they want you to have these books protected, obviously. And when I'm handing the books, the other reason is when I'm handing the books to the artist, I don't want any stray nicks and defects to get picked up by the handling of the book as much as possible. So even though these books will not be submitted just for the PC, I do this just to protect everything around it. So no corners will get dinged or anything like that. All right, now carrying on here, we've got, this is Batman and Robin, or I guess it's Robin and Batman. This is the Frank Miller, Jim Lee storyline, this alternate storyline. Now, you can't really see it up here, but you can just see this. You can see the silver lines that are right up here. It's already been signed by Jim Lee. I got him to sign this many years ago at this point. So this is a book I probably wouldn't have had Frank Miller signed other than it's got Jim Lee already on there. So that right there makes it interesting to me to get signed. Now here's a book that I talked about in one of my previous videos getting, because my plan is to get this signed by Frank Miller. This is Elektra Assassin, issue number 1. But then I'm literally going to leave this in the bag and board for the next 6 months. I'm take it down, or 8 months. Take it down to Charlotte next year. Bill Sienkiewicz is supposed to be there, and this year again. And this is a book that I definitely want signed by both creators on this. This right here. So I'm excited. This is after that Dark Knight Returns hardbound, this is probably my favorite book that I look forward to getting signed. I look forward to completing the journey and getting both artists to sign on this. And then after that, like I said, I've got a couple other tickets for Frank Miller, and I'm debating on whether I'm going to get this signed. I've already got it bagged and boarded, but I'm having this debate. Do I get this signed, which is Wolverine number 1 from 1982, the miniseries? This is the facsimile reprint, which is pretty much in a 9/8 condition right now. Or do I pull out a really good book that I have cleaned and pressed? Now, this is a spectacular copy. I don't know if it'll get a 9/8, but I'm pretty sure it's going to get at least a 9/4, maybe a 9/6 even. I don't know. Sometimes in some of these older books that CGC can surprise you, and sometimes when you get them graded. Now this, on either one of these, if I go either way here, this is one where I will get a facilitator and we will get this witnessed so I can get that submitted to CGC. This is a one that I want to get graded and saved for the collection, just like the ones you see in the background here. So that's the only, it's funny, out of all the books this time on this show, this is the only one that I'm looking to get get witnessed by CGC. All the other ones I'm not really concerned about. As you see, there's other autographs on there. I will end up probably sending some of those in to CBCS at some point. It's all to be determined. And as I said, I've got a few other tickets for Frank Miller, and I'm debating on some Daredevils from his Born Again run. It's all to be determined. It's all going to be on condition whether the books, I'm going to try to pick out the best candidates. So, all right, now the other big artist there is going to be Jim Lee. Now, I'm not saying that there's not a lot of great artists, but just spectacular superstar, mega level. There's Jim Lee, and Jim Lee's going to be there, and this is, I think, the second or third time now he's been there. So you've seen that I had something already signed by him. So what am I getting signed by Jim Lee this time? Well, I've got books that are already bagged and boarded, ready for him to go, and these I got signed down at Heroes Con, and I literally have just left them bagged and boarded, and as you can see, it's already signed. This is signed by Chris Claremont down there. So the idea on these is to get them signed, and I'm going to have Jim Lee sign them, and I'll probably submit these to CBCS. And as an experiment, I had sent books to, I had gotten a couple of Chris Claremont's down there signed. In this issue, actually, I got signed, and I had it witnessed, and they submitted it to CGC for the Jim Lee signing, and Scott Williams. And so I got both of them on. I've already got a 9/8 on this with all three of them signed. Now this one will end up being a CBCS, and it'll just have Jim Lee and Chris Claremont. Let's see. The other ones that I also had Claremont sign: X-Men #1, the special edition, the Great Gatefold. I've got 2 copies of the X-Men #1 with the Magneto cover, and then I had one with just the regular Wolverine Cyclops cover. So those are all ready to go for Jim Lee, already signed by Claremont. And then the other 2 things I'm going to get signed by Jim Lee is I've got artist editions here. Now this is his, I'm not going to put it on the stand, it'll knock everything down, but it's the X-Men artist edition. And if you guys have not seen these are fantastic. It will reprint the original artwork just as the art looked, not as a clean copy that you would have for reproduction. So you get to see all of the artist effects and mistakes and the blue lines and the penciling that kind of gets taken out when they finally do the printing process. But I've got that's the X-Men Jim Lee one. And then I've got basically the same thing, the artist edition for him for Batman. Now it says DC Legends, but you know this is going to be mostly the Hush and the Batman and Robin series that he did that I showed earlier. So I'm looking forward to getting both of those signed as well by Jim Lee. And then we come to some of the other artists that I'm looking for. Let me show what I've got here. I've got an X-Men 213 for Alan Davis. Now Alan Davis I've gotten before. I don't have it here in front of me, but I've got I believe it's 50 years of Marvel hardbound book that I've been working on since, I want to say 93, where I've got hundreds of artists in there from Marvel over the years, and I'd already gotten Alan Davis in that, I believe. I'm going to double check. But I'm not going deep on getting a lot of comics signed by everybody else. Everybody's it's 1s, 2s, maybe 3s in some cases. But this book right here is one that I want to get signed. It's a really good copy of X-Men 213, the Wolverine, and it's the first cover appearance of Wolverine and Sabretooth fighting. So and of course Alan Davis did the story, the interior as well. And I just always loved this. And this has already been cleaned and pressed. I was getting ready to send it into the CGC anyway. So I'm going to get this signed, and I'm going to hold on to it. And I don't know. I might get it graded. This one I might go ahead and submit as well, because I'm sure there's going to be another opportunity to get Chris Claremont. And if he ever does another signing with CGC, I'd kind of like to get this in, send this in, even though it will have already been slabbed, supposedly, and have him sign that. Now, the other option, of course, is I can hold on to it and wait for another opportunity to see Chris Claremont in person. And if I want to get it graded, I can always have CBCS. There's always that option. So that's for Alan Davis. And then for Jim Cheung, he did the covers for Secret Warriors. And I was real excited about getting this book signed because I've already got, who do I have here? I got Jonathan Hickman down here. You can sort of see it down here at the corner. But I got a spot for Jim Cheung right here. I love the art on these covers right here. And the reason I pulled this out already, Brian Michael Bendis was supposed to be at the show this year too, but I think it's the second year in a row that he's actually canceled. So unfortunately, he's not going to be there this year, but Jimmy Cheung is going to be there, so I'll have him go ahead and sign it. Hopefully we'll see Brian Michael Bendis at a future show. It's also disappointing because I also had original artwork from Mark Bagley and John Dale that had been signed by both of them over the last couple years, and I was looking forward to getting Brian Michael Bendis on those original art pieces as well. So that's going to have to wait. Just like that, this is going to have to wait for Brian Michael Bendis. And this is a really nice book. This is Crisis number, what is this? This is number 8. This is, it's already signed. You can see the George Perez signature right there. And I've got it covered up with all the tape and everything from my window. I've got Marv Wolfman on here as well. So I've got a spot right here for Jerry Ordway. And I'm not sure, he didn't do every one of the issues in Crisis, but he did the majority of them, did the inking. So, and I've already gotten him to sign a bunch of these. I don't know why I didn't already have this pulled out. He's been at the Baltimore Comic Con multiple times, so it was a miss on my part, but I found it. I'm going to get this one signed as well. So that's the one I'm going to get for him. This just came out. This is Harley Quinn #1, the 30th anniversary. Not really a fan of much of the inside and the stories and everything, but this is just a great Terry Dodson cover here. And he's going to be at the show. So I was looking, I don't know if I've actually got him in the Marvel book too, but I'm going to, if I haven't, I'll get that signed as well. But I saw this cover and it's like, oh, this is spectacular. It's brand new. This book's in fantastic shape. So I'm going to go ahead and get this signed. And then to complete my 6-issue series, I've got Usagi Yojimbo #1. This is Lone Goat and Kid. It's a reprint series from IDW, Stan Sky's Usagi Yojimbo. And I couldn't find this. I know I have it. I couldn't find it, but I had the other 5 issues 2 through 6, that I took down to Heroes Con back in June. And David Peterson, the creator of Mouse Guard, was there. And I got him to sign. He was very nice. He signed every one of those issues for me. And I said, I got to find this one too. And he said, well, I'll be back in Baltimore. So I'm going to stop by his table and we'll get this one signed. And we'll have a complete 6-issue series where he did the covers on all of these reprint issues. Now, I'll have to hold on to these. I really want to get to meet or see Stan Sakai again and get him to sign these as well. So I guess those will go into the Stan Sakai to be determined file at some point. And maybe a couple other artists. I'll reevaluate what I'm going to get signed at the show. Here, let's just leave this up here so you have something good to look at. And we'll look at the show. We'll see what other artists there might be to get things. What I kind of want to do is let's talk about what I'm looking for at the show. And every show I go to, whether it's a big show like this or these small cons that you have at hotels in your local areas and stuff, I go into it, approach it sometimes very differently from show to show. Sometimes I'll be in this, I'm not really looking for anything. And if I see something that interests me, I may pick it up. Or I may go in with a very specific idea. It's like, focus on these books. Now, last year at Baltimore Comic Con, that's what I did. Now it was a big list, but I focused on that and I really stocked up. And I should put a link in the description here that going back to those videos, I did 3 days of videos from Baltimore Comic Con last year, and I'll show you what I picked up. And I go over the books that I was specking on getting, cleaning and pressing and getting to the CGC. And it'd be interesting to do a follow-up at some point and show you the results of what I did at Baltimore Comic Con last year and the results of those. Because the books that I eventually ended up sending in, I've gotten them back. So I guess that actually would be pretty good to do a follow-up video on the whole thing. But again, when I go into this show this year, I don't think right now I'm going to have as big a list, but I will tell you this. I'm working on some projects that are very personal to me. I'm working on getting a 9/8 series on several miniseries, basically. I'm looking at Dark Knight Returns, Batman Year One, and Spider-Man's Kraven's Last Hunt. Those are the three that I am specifically working on. I've got 9/8 on the majority of these books, but there are certain issues that I'm just not hitting on. Batman, or Dark Knight #2, Batman 407, the last issue, and Spider-Man 294. Those are the three. Those are at the top of my list. And these aren't going to be super expensive books, which is going to be nice. But that's going to be my first focus. From there, we will kind of look at the list that I've got and kind of go down. I mean, I've been doing this for the last year and a half, where I've been going to shows, picking up books, and evaluating whether or not I can clean and press them and get them up to that really top grade, hopefully a 9/8 in a lot of cases, and be able to get it obviously graded, and have some for the PC and some that will be for sale, help fund the hobby and everything. So we will laser focus on that a little bit. So that list is not complete, but I know I do this so often. I know when I see a book, I kind of know what the value is that's on that list. I don't always have to have the giant list with me. But these three issues are definitely the ones I'm going to be looking for specifically. As for everything else, I'm hoping to meet a lot of you guys that follow the channel. I hope you come to the Baltimore Comic Con. I don't have anything planned. There's no meetup or anything like that. But I'll be walking around the show. You guys will know. I'm telling you right now, I will be in line for Frank Miller on, I think he's on Saturday, and I think Jim Lee's on Friday. I'm sure those areas are going to be set aside. They're not going to have it out on the main floor or anything. And they're paid autograph signing, so it's going to be, they'll definitely have it scheduled. I just don't know what the schedule is yet. After that, I'll be around the show the whole weekend. I hope you guys stop by, say hi, let's catch up, and show me what you're getting. I'd love to see the books that you guys are getting and what you're looking for at the show. So that's it, guys. Short video, a little bit about the approach to the way I'm going to take this show and how I'm going to go into it. I hope you get something out of it, and I hope to see you at the show this weekend. Actually, when am I filming? I'm filming this on a Saturday, so we have a week. This video will probably come out on Monday, so it's still about a week. So October, I believe, 28th, 29th, and 30th. I hope to see you there. See you guys. Take care.